Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 18 of What If Naruto Was a Hope of the Uchiha clan. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends and social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over at Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Was a one-of-a-kind prodigy, and enjoy that guys. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over in the Making 3 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. Yes, family, I have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last part that we left off. Inuma and his forces said goodbye to the others. After all, they had to. As they looked towards the approaching dead that was coming towards them, they had to stop it right here and right now. As it was too much of them, they had to stop them and give them enough time to retreat, so Inuma took the forces out as he made his way. As Shisui could only give him a farewell. As they managed to get on the boats, as when they were leaving they saw the entire village of Uzu. An explosion went off like a miniature tail-beast bomb and annihilated the forces. News spread after a couple of days that the king was dead. As Tajima was shocked by that, Naruto and his son was dead. The man was shaken as he couldn't believe what exactly he was hearing. He had lost so much already and now he lost his youngest son. And Naruto as well, his only sister that remained. But despite that, the man had a strong will as he was able to give out orders despite the broken look on his face, because the forces were coming towards them. The forces of the dead were coming towards them. Meanwhile, this was a plan set up by Shisui and the others. It was a bad plan on their part as they had to spread the rumors about Naruto being dead so the forces would stop chase after them, and also send a few, well most of their men towards the mainland because they could not outrun them on the sea. So the enemy forces would go there. Their king was currently unconscious. They weren't even sure if he recovered, if he would be in a proper state of mind after being hit by that jutsu. But they had to try, they had to hope. So with that they made their way. Meanwhile, Tobirama and Madara had conquered the sand and the stone, as they were able to conquer those ninjas. But a message then came from Madara, as Tobirama heard the blood-curdling scream of no. He rushed over to see Madara as he bolted out of the tent. Madara didn't want anyone to talk to him at the moment as he just left. Tobirama went inside as he saw the note. The king was dead, but not only just the king. Inuma was dead as well. Meanwhile, Sned and her forces saw the banner as they were coming towards them. But to their shock, from the 7,000 that left, only 20 were returning back as Sned rushed towards them. As she saw Naruto, he was pale. He looked... his touch, the warmth, it was not there. There was nothing, like he was dead. Although he was alive, it was like his body was alive but lifeless at the same time. As Inuma was also taken, as Hoshirama had that grief-stricken look on his face. This was bad. Meanwhile, Naruto was in his mindscape, as he was locked away behind bars by none other. By Indra himself. Indra was the one that placed him in here, so his soul would not be removed after that monster had tried to suck his soul. As Inja told him that he would teach him how to control his new eyes and the powers that are now bestowed upon him. Inja also told him about that woman, the Dark Queen, and who exactly she is, as she was a living embodiment of Kaguya, to be her vessel once she returned. And there was also Zetsu as well, as he told him everything and how Dawn and Fury came in their position, as he saw the cold, wicked look in her eyes, as he told him that he should not be lenient with some, because some people were trying to overthrow him, but he saw the Naruto would annihilate them all. And that was right, because the armies were breaking apart, the morale was dropping, as Tobirama saw that. The dark spot on his body was spreading, and dark thoughts in his head were getting louder as well. But that was not the only thing. The armies were dividing. The wife of the Yamanaka that Naruto had incinerated smiled when she heard that the king was dead. This was bad. As a few were trying to revolt, they were gaining forces. Yes, they were going to revolt against him. After all, they didn't want Madara to take over, because he was the next in line. They wanted Snidely to rule. So soon enough, everything was going to go to hell. So yeah guys, it was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the play sector for yourself. So what is to begin this new episode? Tobirama sat by himself as he thought about the coup that the Senjus wanted to plan. Things were getting really bad. But despite that, they had run into a bit of a trouble. A few Uchihas were still here, the elites with Madara. Not to mention Tobi Sharmura, he was injured, but his clansmen were here and they would fight till death for Madara. And Arya and Namikaze had the Irel support, who would wreak havoc if they decided to do anything. Most importantly, Sasuke Sarutobi had barked at the idea of a coup. The Monkey Clan head had snarled when he heard his clansman thought about that. He had grown to respect Madara, seeing how he lead his people and how he care and guide them. The man would not stab Madara in the back. He had told his allies in clear terms he would not tell Madara about their treachery, but if they truly decide to go up against him, he would be defending the Hokage. And not to mention Madara. After hearing about his brother's death, if they try to start anything right now, he would rain hell down on them. Most importantly, Tobirama did not want to hurt Madara, as Madara had become a comrade to him. Never in his wildest dream did he thought he would come to respect and admire someone like Madara. But the Uchiha had gained his trust with his actions. Madara was not perfect, but with Naruto dead, he could maintain the peace. Nobody in this army would trust Tajima, but these men had followed Madara, and despite their losses, Madara had led them to victory. The man had not lost a single battle. No, he will succumb to greed and loss and madness. At the sake of his brother, you must put him down right now for the sake of peace. Tobirama gripped his head as that treacherous voice whispered in his mind once again. He fought it, but his chest burned with pain. He moved towards the corner of the tent as he glanced towards the mirror. Removing his chest, he saw his entire chest was dark. The whispering was becoming more and more stronger to the point that it had stopped Tobirama from raising any objective or asking for more times from the co-leaders. His resistance was failing and he knew it wouldn't be long until this darkness overtook him. He cursed the day this evil sunk into his head. He remembered the first day it happened. It was while he was captured by the Uchihas. It was before Hoshirama had agreed to Naruto terms. Before that, the Uchiha guards had taken great pleasure in starving him and making his wounds worse by slightly torturing him. He was shivering in pain and he was lucid at best. The voice had whispered to him and promised to take away his pain, and in his weak desperation he accepted the voice. The pain had went away, much as the shock guards, because his wounds had healed as well. Naruto had found out about that later, and he did punish the culprits. After that, the king had made sure the posts loyal guards would not torture Tobirama at least. But it was too late. Tobirama had already accepted the darkness. No, he said. He felt the darkness inside him rage, but he raged back. He was not gonna let this thing take over him. Their wills clashed against each other. Tobirama's eyes widened as he caught glances of whatever this thing was, its memory, as he pushed him back into the dark recesses of his mind. Tobirama dropped as he panted on his knees as the darkness receded. Only for now though. He felt exhausted and tired, but there was no time to waste. As he got back to his feet as he wrote a nearby message on a piece of paper, as he calmed himself, he called for one of his guards. Take this to Lord Sasuke. "Don't give it to anyone else under any circumstances," said Tobirama. "Yes, my lord," said the guard, as he took the letter and went out. As soon as the guard was gone, Tobirama gripped his chest. The pain was becoming unbearable, as it was flaring up once again, as it was ordering him to do something treacherous. But he knew if he killed Madara, this would just send everything into chaos. He grabbed the Raijin blade as he placed on his armor as he rushed out of his tent. In his haste and his weakness, he was not focused on the two people that were following after him. Time skip. Sasuke's Sarutobi had been very tense ever since he found out about the coup, that his allies were planning against Madara. To say that they were fools, that would be an understatement. Granted, Madara had few loyalists on his side right now, and if the Senjus and the others allied, they can overthrow him, maybe. But the fact that they currently had thousands of prisoners from the land of Earth in their camp made the situation more volatile. Those bastards would use the coup to escape or either slaughter them all in the chaos. They had thousands in numbers, and that wasn't even talking about their injured comrades that were being treated by the Senju medics. Sasuke held no personal love for Madara, but he respected the man. At first he had his doubts, but regardless of his issues, Madara was a good leader who always cared for his people no matter what. The king's death had hit him hard, and he had isolated himself. But if those fools attack a wounded dragon, they were destined to burn. Naruto might give second chance to his enemies, but Madara, he gave none. What had baffled Sasuke was Tobirama, either lack of support or resistance to this foolish coup. Tobirama was acting strange ever since he heard of Inuma's death. More than once, Sasuke had felt a darkness inside of Tobirama, and he was fighting with himself. When he asked, Tobirama said that he was fine, but Sasuke did not believe him one bit. But he knew until Tobirama gave the final permission, the traitors would not do anything. It was then that one of Tobirama's personal guards came rushing inside his tent with a letter that had Tobirama's personal seal on it. Sasuke opened it up as he saw the words, "Whatever his opposition, or how he was against the coup, he was bound to obey Tobirama's orders. And his lord had no made a command. This was not like the other fools that were asking. This was Tobirama, and he couldn't go against him and the Senju clan." He burned the letter as he looked towards the guard. "Prepare the man," he said. Time skip. Tobirama lay, his hands on the cool sand as he was on his knees. More than half of his body was covered in darkness. He could feel his control fading. "You can't fight the darkness." He screamed out in agony as another dreadful pain ran through his body, as his memories of happiness were fading away, leaving nothing but hatred and anger. "Even now you fade." He coughed blood. One of his eyes started to see things differently, much to his horror. One flame alone in the dark. His trembling hands moved towards his holy sword. The blade of lightning made by Ashura himself had already been passed down through his descendants. It was a source of pride and a source of power. As soon as he grabbed the hilt, he felt a chakra rush through his body. A serene, cool, warm chakra, so full of warmth and love. Hoshirama, Snavi, Inuma, Kararama, father, mother. He clenched his fists. "I am the son of Batsuma, and the descendant of Ashura, wielder of the Raijin," he whispered to himself. The darkness roared inside of him, but it was stunned as Raijin blade released a bolt of lightning into the darkened skies. As Tobirama looked at his flashing sword, it was calling to him like a mother would to its terrified child. He knew what he had to do as he gripped the weapon firmly. The darkness had too strong of a hold on him, but at least this way he would not betray his comrades and become a traitor to his people. He could not betray Inma memory and sacrifice. He could not betray his king who died for their people. As he raised the Raijin towards his heart, he was about to plunge it into his chest when two shadows dropped down on him. One of them grabbed him from behind, while the other pulled away the blade from him. Tobirama protested that he could barely see, but his captors didn't pay him any attention. He saw the Raijin blade being raised high up in the sky before it was brought down right towards his head. He closed his eyes knowing that it was his end, but instead of taking off his head, he felt a monstrous load of lightning rush through his body. An inhuman scream roared from Tobirama's body. "Go back to the shadows!" Tobirama heard a female voice scream as it was yelling at the darkness that was trying to consume him, that he felt growing weaker and weaker. He felt more and more of his body as the dark power started to recede. Tobirama thrashed around violently, but the one that held on to him tight. The female that held on to him placed the blade right towards his forehead. As shockwave was unleashed, Tobirama felt something violently pushed out of his body. As he collapsed on the ground as the person released him, the darkness crashed violently on the sand. It started to rise up though, a humanoid creature, its body made up of pure darkness with yellow eyes. It gave off that inhuman scream as the first enemy approached it. It was Danzo, the son of Tobishamura. As Tobirama blinked, Danzo was part of Madara, personal guard. What the hell was he doing here? But the sight of Mikoto Uchiha wielding the Raijin blade in one hand and her own sword in another surprised him even more. What was the commander of Madara personal guard and her brother-in-arm doing here? Why were they not with their sworn leader? Know that he looked towards the creature and he was free from its control. He remembered the thing's name. Zetsu. It moved quickly, evading Danzo's strikes, but it was injured as there was black blood oozing out of its head. Even in this state though, it casts an aura of death and misery, making Tobirama memories haunt him once again, as he saw his brothers being killed in front of him, Snavy being burned alive. As it made him scream, so did Danzo as he fell to his knees as he saw his father being killed in front of him as well. Mikoto fell to her knees as she was assaulted by the vision of how Naruto must have died. Alone, wounded, and in pain, he called for her to help him, but she could not reach him in time. Tears fell from her eyes as she watched a man that she loved die right in front of her. She was unable to do anything. Zetsu grinned as he saw his enemies trembling in despair and fear. Foolish humans. He walked towards Danzo as he made a spear of his dark chakra in his palm. As he glanced towards Danzo, who was fleshing around in pain, as he was calling out for his father, as he brought the spear that he created down, but it was blocked by the sword of Ashura. He was surprised as he turned as he saw Mikoto was the one fighting against him, as he saw the hatred in her eyes and anger. This woman had loved the king. Surely news of his death and those visions would have made her crumble, so how was she still standing up? For our king, she yelled. As she pushed forward, Zetsu jumped back as he made roots from the ground, but she used her normal sword and sliced them down rather easily. He tried to sink away in the ground, but she released a massive bolt of lightning that rooted him up and tore the earth apart. She did not give him any time as she rushed forward. Zetsu blocked her strike with his own blade that he had in his hand, but the Raijin blade did not crumble like many others. Despite his blade made from dark chakra tough, the Raijin was stronger. Mikoto slammed her feet right into his knee, as she must have crushed his kneecap as he cried out in pain. Zetsu fell back momentarily as she raised her blade. Disappear, she yelled. She dropped the lightning blade as it tore him into half. Zetsu screamed as the blade absorbed the dark chakra and tore him apart. In a few seconds, Zetsu was evaporated from the world of man. Mikoto panted as she focused on two people in the area. Danzo had shaken off the genjutsu effect and crawled towards Tobirama as she went towards the two men. Lord Senju, she called. What are you doing here? Tobirama asked druggily, as both of them helped him stand up. Much to his relief, she gave him back his holy sword as Tobirama felt his power return back to him with a warm chakra. It healed his minor injuries and removed the last amount of darkness that Zetsu had left inside of him. He was relieved as he looked towards the two of them. Our Hokage sent us to help you, Danzo said. How did Madara even know what was happening to me? Said Tobirama. We don't know. He said that he saw a great darkness consuming you, and we were to save Lord Hoshirama's last brother at all costs. Tobirama was left speechless. Even with the grief of losing his last sibling, Madara had still had enough energy to save his best friend, little brother. Hoshirama always say that when Madara lost his final brother, he would give up on everything, but he did not. A small smile came on his lips. Maybe, just maybe their world was not doomed to fall after their king's death. Thank you, said Tobirama, thanking both of the guards. Tobirama then went pale as he ran. The both of them ran after him, confused. They ran for several long minutes as Tobirama was bombarded by pleas to stop and many other questions. But he silenced them as they climbed on top of a sand dome and saw what was waiting for them. A wave of darkness was coming. Thousands of bodies, deceased, sand, and earth ninjas and civilians were marching. Men, women, children, even Lord Scorpions were heading towards the direction of Madara's camp. Is this the enemy our king faced? Danzo said, in horror. It would seem so, Tobirama said. I see many Kaguyas amongst them, along with some of those few white-haired bastards. Are they the Otsutsuki Shisui warned us about? Said Mikoto. As she was worried, if these bastards were able to kill someone as powerful as Naruto, then what chance did they have? Tobirama saw the skies darken as the moon was being hid. Vast sandstorms were being created amongst the desert that would put Madara's camp into panic. And the enemies could arrive on them, surprisingly. By the time Madara realized the threat, it will be all over. Danzo, Mikoto, warn Madara, now, said Tobirama, as his eyes were fixed on the white-haired man leading this army. Danzo nodded, but Mikoto hesitated, as she knew what Tobirama was going to do. She had no doubt about his powers because he was the second powerful after Madara in their army right now. But Tobirama was not in the mood. Run, he said! Danzo grabbed Mikoto by the shoulder and pulled her away, as Tobirama unleashed his blade and walked forward. You're a good man, Tobirama, Mikoto said, as she quickly ran off. As the army of dead and the Otsutsukis were coming for them. It took moments. The army of dead was forced to stop by their commander, as the commander felt the enormous amount of power moving towards them. Just one look at the thundering clouds was enough to show the energy that was being built up. Had Zetsu failed, the creature was supposed to corrupt Tobirama and make the man launch an inner coup, allowing the Zetsu to finish off the army once he was torn apart. Zetsu had plagued Tobirama's body for months now, and sending thoughts and images to his brain that they will have an army coming to his aid. But in truth, that was all a lie. Tobirama had thought when he had planned the coup in the first place. After all, he was the one in the shadows speaking to the other members who was going to help him. He told them that he had an army, but he didn't have an army. The army that he was speaking of was the dead that was coming to slaughter them all, but Zetsu made him think otherwise. But the Otsutsuki could see that Zetsu had failed as Tobirama stood in front of them with a murderous glare. Kill him, the lead Otsutsuki said. The army of dead shot forward, while they had no sense of survival. The only thing they were here to do was serve and kill. Tobirama raised his blade high in the air. None shall pass, he said. His chakra, along with the blade, sent a beam of lightning to the clouds, as it blinded everything. The Otsutsuki had to take cover behind their massive scorpions, as the ground shook violently as an explosion went off. Ashes and fires were all that they saw when they emerged from their cover, along with the charred remains of 4,000 of their minions. Not a trace of them was left in this world, but ash, and that too disappeared as well. Heavy rains fall down along with bolts of lightning that incinerate enemies here and there. From the smoke came hundreds of paper shards that were filled, as they all were covered in explosive notes. The Otsutsukis were forced to take cover as they went off. By the time they emerged from their cover, they saw Tobirama moving with his holy sword. Release the beast, the lead Otsutsuki said. The group of scorpion roared as they charged towards Tobirama. They raised their tails, unleashing hundreds of poisonous needles, but Tobirama disappeared in a flash. Before anyone could think what happened, the Senju appeared below one of the beasts and stabbed his lightning blade right through it. The scorpion roared and lashed out with his tail as it knocked out its own two comrades. Emerging from the corpse, Tobirama saw two more scorpions open their mouth and release poison towards him. He flashed Juansan water style. Water bullets, he said, as he fired those bullets right into the eyes of the scorpion. They screamed as they flashed around, slaughtering their own in their panic of trying to gain back their sight. The rains were coming down heavy as Tobirama flashed Juansan water style water wall as the army of dead moved towards him. He unleashed a force of nature, a water wall in all sides that blew back the enemy force. But still, more and more charged towards him, but he was ready. Hiroshin. Soon enough, the battlefield was glowing with yellow flashes as he flashed all across the field, wreaking nothing but havoc and chaos. For all their mighty numbers, they were no chance for the blade of Ashura that ripped and tore and freed their twisted souls. Combining that with Tobirama's speed and quick reflex and thinking, it was a massacre on the battlefield. Most of the enemy scorpions were either dead, badly injured, or went berserk. Hundreds were being cut down after seconds. Tobirama kept the monsters at bay, knowing that he could not allow them to reach Madara anytime soon. But even so, he was bound by mortality. The dead were not. He kept them at bay for a good 20 minutes before fatigue started to catch up with him. And every time he hit the dead, one or two managed to land blows on his body. And using the Harashin, it ached his muscles, and not to mention, using massive ninjutsu after ninjutsu was sapping away at his chakra. But the humiliation that Zetsu and the Osusuke wanted to put his people under, it encouraged him to fight on. He ducked and raised his blade in time as he blocked blades from dead warriors. With a roar, he pushed as he made them go flying away, as he spun in a 360 degree and sliced head from bodies. He flashed away as more dead tried to jump on him. He had barely touched down as he twisted. His flesh was pierced. He was surprised. He looked towards a long, white spear that pierced through his upper chest. He coughed blood as his knees threatened to give out. But he saw the army of dead coming towards him. As he refused, as he snarled, he unleashed dozens of water bullets as he rushed forward, slicing off heads with his blade. There were so many of them, so many attacks coming from all sides, so many to counter against. He never heard the whistling sound, as one more spear pierced his back. As he turned, he caught sight, but it was too late as one more spear pierced his chest once again. He felt the last amount of strength fade. As he fell down to his knees, he couldn't breathe properly. Pain flooded his body. The army of dead stopped as they parted. The Osusuke members that struck him down approached him. As he watched as they came forward, the four white-haired bastards with a smug look on their face raised their spear-shaped weapons. He saw the other three looking at the one in the center and mean that he was leader of this army. And there was a faint smile on his lips. They pierced his flesh mercilessly. As the four of the spears ripped into him, he dropped the Raijin blade. A silent scream left his lips. But to their shock, Tobirama reached and gripped his blade. The Raijin blade released a massive amount of lightning that struck two of them, sending them sailing away. Tobirama grabbed the spear of the leader and yanked him towards him. The stunned warrior could not say anything as Tobirama drove the blade right through his skull, ending his life instantly. The army of dead screeched as their leader was killed. The last Osusuke raised his spear to take Tobirama's head clean off. Tobirama closed his eyes and he waited. He waited for the final blow. But he heard an inhuman scream roar across the sky and thousands of battle cries. As he slowly opened back his eyes, through his hazy vision he saw a sight that he had never seen before. In the dark sky he saw a strange monster. It had the face of a demonic bull with two large horns. His body was in the shape of a man, but he was covered in dark shadows and scorching flame. Two large rings that was made from darkness was carrying the creature through the skies. Its inhuman scream made the Osusuke take a step back as red eyes looked down towards him. It opened its monstrous mouth as a wave of dark fire was released across the desert. "You were lucky," the Osusuke said in fright. Tobirama did not know the meaning of that word, but the Osusuke grabbed one of his fallen comrades and flee with him. The other one tried to get up, but he was enveloped in dark flames. "Kill them all!" The roar of hundreds of shinobis from the land of fire and wind and the earth joined up as they clashed against the army of dead. But the most devastating was a creature of fire and darkness. Yuruluki. What a strange name. Tobirama couldn't help but think as his blood drained away from him. But it was a satisfying sight to watch that creature burn thousands of the enemies down to ashes with that black scorching flame. Tobirama was surprised when he saw Madara standing inside that creature. His eyes were full of nothing but anger and hate. These bastards had killed the Uchiha last brother, and the wrath of the dragon was gonna burn them. Tobirama was happy to see the butchers of his own brother being slaughtered under Madara wrath. Karma was a real bitch. He didn't know how long he laid in the bloody sand, but soon the sounds of battle started to fade away. The screams became less and less until one final roar was given by the living as they vanquished the dead. He heard footsteps as he slowly opened his eyes. "Is it over?" he said. Madara sadly watched the state that Tobirama was in. It made his heart clench in pain. Tobirama didn't deserve this. As Madara monkeyed his Sharingan looked down towards him, Yes. Did Mikato and Danzo make it? Tobirama said. To his relief, the two young warriors are standing by. Sasuke and Sarutobi came running forward, along with Arya and Namikaze. As they froze and seeing the state Tobirama was in, Arya placed a hand on Sarutobi's shoulder. Did you stop the traitors? Tobirama whispered. Yes, your warning saved us all. Sasuke held me in prison, Hiro, Tori, and Hayate, along with their supporters. We stopped the coup before it started and Mikato warned us about the enemy, allowing us time to prepare. You saved us all, Tobirama. Now let us do the same, said Madara. He tried to lift his Senju, but he resists. Leave it. It is over. Madara did not want to hear those words, nor did he want to see the regretful look in Tobirama's eyes. He looked at Arya for help, but she only shook her head. The world of man will fall, and the Osutskis shall bring darkness to the world. I have ruined us all, said Tobirama. If only he had been strong enough to resist Zetsu. If only he could have found out about the damn Osutski's plans. His brother would be alive. Their king would still be alive, Snad. They wouldn't have lost Naruto, and Madara would still have his brother. Tears fell from his eyes. But he felt something grab his shoulder. It was Madara, as he looked into those dark eyes. I will stop them no matter what, nor will I let our people die, said Madara. Tobirama's eyes widened on hearing those words, and he saw the look in Madara's eyes. Senju's and Uchiha's. Our people, Tobirama said, happily, making Madara simply smile. Our people, said Madara. A smile appeared on Tobirama's lips as he grasped his sword. Madara's eyes widened as Tobirama handed the blade over to him. Tobirama, I am glad I followed you, my brother, my Hokage, my king. The life faded away from his eyes as Tobirama held the hand with the blade in it and slowly took it. He closed Tobirama's eyes. Regret and guilt flooded his heart as he glanced toward Tobirama's lifeless body. Now we don't have any brothers left, Hashirama, he said sadly. Knowing that Hashirama would also be in pain as well. The pain that he went through tonight. Knowing that Naruto was gone. Be safe, son of Ashura, Madara whispered, as he had came to respect Tobirama through this war. As he had supported him. Without him, they wouldn't have won this war. He then finally picked himself up as he looked towards the warriors, as they all surrounded him. Even the warriors from the land of wind and earth were stunned. It was no longer ninjas against ninjas, no longer nations against nations, but men against death. Hashirama, you wanted me to build a village of our dreams for our siblings. As he glanced toward Tobirama, but now they're all gone. But yet, we still have to fight on. Madara raised the Raijin blade in the sky. From the ashes, we shall rise again, he said. He was glad to see his own army raise their sword in respect and agreement. There were no cheers for this victory because they all knew it was far from being over. Mikato and Arya came forward as they took Tobirama's body, as it would soon be cremated. Madara made sure the ashes and sword reached his family no matter what. If Shisui, words were accurate, then the enemy was ravaging across the land of fire, with his father being the last stand of defense there. Naruto and Neri were dead, and so many Uchiha fighters as well. The Senjus were not different because they also suffered a lot of losses. Madara had a grim feeling by the time this war was over. The sons of Indra and Ashura, they will all perish. But none of that mattered anymore. With his brother dead, he was a high-ranking leader here, and near the army that they need at the moment, back at their home. Let us go home, he said. Time skip, land of lightning. Shisui watched the traps and fortifications being set up across the beach. Watching ninjas and samurais work side by side would have been a rather bizarre sight a few months ago, but now, all things had changed. It didn't seem so strange anymore. After all, the dead were walking amongst the world, so it wouldn't be strange if ninjas and samurais worked together. Hopefully, the forces had returned back to the mainland and helped Tajima against the dead. The Senjus had not taken the death of one of their own very well. Even so, Hashirama and Tsunade, in their grief, they were making sure that Naruto did not die after all. If he fell, they would not survive this. Their people could not survive the king's death. He had been amazed at their powers. They healed his most grievous wounds in 2 days, but that was where it ended. Hashirama told them while Naruto was physically recovering, His mind was the thing that worried Hoshirama gravely. He had lost a lot of blood and combined that with the loss of Neri, who was like a mother to him. No one knew the mental state that placed on him. Shisui had insisted that they not give up, while him, Mito, Hanzo, and Mifune took charge to prepare themselves for the upcoming battle. Tsunade informed him that the entire land of lightning was ravished. Villages were burned to the ground, civilizations were wiped out ruthlessly. That explained why the Otsutsuki had so many dead ranks. The bastards had silently attacked this nation and killed the people and used them as a dead before moving towards Ozu. Yet they did not kill every last man Hoshirama had found. A few thousand survivors that took refuge in the deep caves. Most of them were civilians, but some of them were a handful of clan survivors who was urging for vengeance. The fact that they easily accepted Naruto as their king showed how much they want to fight the Otsutsuki to get revenge. But they didn't really have a choice either. Almost 40,000 were against them, with few of them being veteran samurais and the rest of them being shinobis. So they had joined without a single protest. Despite the grim situation, a grim hope was in his heart. If he combined all the people that he had 50,000 humans ready to fight. Granted, only 43,000 of them were trained warriors, with the rest civilians and merchants and even farmers, but he would take what he can. Because right now they had warriors like Tsunade, Hoshirama, Mito, Hanzo, Mifune, and most importantly, the Nine-Tailed Fox with them. They were also now familiar with the enemy attack procedure as well. The mountain clan informed them that they attack from the sea and move in from the coast. Even though they only had Hagurumos and Kaguyas, the bulk of their armies were also the dead Uzumakis that ventured towards land of seas centuries ago. And not to mention that dreadful queen. And that statue, it was too powerful for any of them to stop. And everyone fall, they rose once again to join the enemy side. They were warned that they would start from the coastal areas, so that is why Shisui was taking precautions. With Hoshirama busy, he was the one in control of the army. We cannot afford another defeat, Shisui said Takashi, as he sharpened his own blade. I know, Shisui said. His friend was speaking the truth. No matter what happened, we will crush those enemies right here, before going to save our own nation, Kagami said. There wasn't a doubt of hesitation or disbelief in his eyes, something Shisui which he had right now. You seem cocky, teased Takashi with a grin. As Kagami scoffed. The last time I checked, my single kick was able to send that cursed statue flying, even crack it, said Kagami. Shisui smiled when he saw Takashi sulk at the remark. There was no doubt about Kagami taijutsu powers, as he had played a large part in stopping the statue from destroying all of them at Ozu. Out of their group, he was the one that never wavered, that never gave up no matter what. My father told me the ninth gate can unleash a power that has never been seen before. If push come to shove, said Kagami. He was stopped though as Shisui placed his hand on his shoulder. I forbid you. Unleashing that power will kill you, and you haven't even mastered it yet. We may not have a choice, said Kagami, but Shisui did not budge one bit with his stare. Takashi was about to say something to interrupt the tension, but Itachi came on his horse, as he saw a spark of hope in his eyes. Come quickly, he said. Without any protest, they charged after his friend. They quickly made their way, as they saw Hoshirama and Mito stand at the bed. The boys moved past Hanzo and Mifune and some other minor ninja lords, and they froze at the sight that they saw. In the large bed, a heavily wounded man was trying to open his eyes. The queen had tears in her eyes as she gently helped him sit up. His breathing was shaky. He was pale as a corpse, but his eyes, they opened. The first thing he saw was a halo of gold, as he had to squint and focus his vision, and he saw her. He smiled. I know you, he whispered. His trembling hand touched her cheek, making tears fell from her eyes. Tsunade. Hoshirama smiled as Tsunade gave out a joyous laugh as she kissed her husband. How long had he waited to see that smile? That smile had disappeared away from her face. Ever since Naruto went to Ozu, and it had completely sealed off ever since she heard of Inma's fate. Watching her regain some of that happiness filled his heart with nothing but joy. He felt Mito squeeze his hand as she gave him a gentle smile. As Naruto's eyes settled on his my friends, he said. Takashi gave him a wink and that kiss with the queen, as Kagami gave him a white smile. Itachi gave him a nod. But he also had a small smile as well. Shisui had tears in his eyes, a tearful smile. "Welcome back, my king," he said. As Naruto looked towards his hair that had turned white, his hands were pale. Shisui saw his dilemma as he moved forward. "This belongs to you, my friend." As Naruto was getting up, much as at his protests, but she saw that he was not going to relent, so she helped him up. His trembling hands moved towards the hilt of his weapon. Dawn was very important to him. Now that he knew its complete truth and the ancestors that wield this blade, it felt like it was a part of his soul. As he grabbed it and unleashed it, everyone had to close their eyes. As a bright light emerged, everyone gasped and light died down. A thick layer of chakra had emerged on the blade, and it was fusing with Naruto's body. To their sheer shock, his white hair turned back brown. The paleness of his skin vanished, and it was replaced by a healthy natural color once again. His aura raged over him like a dragon. Shisui saw the Sharingan, and it twisted into a shuriken shape. As Naruto looked to see people, familiar and even strangers, kneel in front of him. As Naruto knew what restored him, Dawn is not just a holy sword that is made up of foreign material and chakra from the 10 tails, but it also contained chakra from each wielder that had wielded through the sands of time. The blood of a dragon rests in your blade, and it shall answer the call of a dragon when the time comes. He remembered what Indra told him. As Naruto's eyes settled down towards Kurama, as Kurama narrowed his eyes at those pair of Mangekyous. Moments later, Kurama was nervous. In a very long time, he had to be when a pair of Mangekyous settled on him, not to mention Naruto's aura. Most might not felt it, but it was different. There was a familiar warmth that spread amongst his loved ones, but when he ordered them to leave him alone, the fox felt it, this different aura that consumed him. "Are you going to kill me now, Kyuubi?" he said. The Kyuubi eyes widened on being called that name for the first time by his friend. As Naruto was walking, his every step made Kurama feel nervous. "So that was your mission, huh?" said Naruto, as his eyes were full with nothing but betrayal. "To kill all who awakened these eyes. How did you..." "Indra," said Kurama. "Yes," said Naruto. "My ancestor who had many shortcomings, but one who was also manipulated and betrayed by his family. A man who fought his brother for power, but also died for him when the situation demanded it. Yes, that Indra. And every Uchiha that you kill over the thousands of years, without hesitation, for the sole reason of them awakening these eyes. It got so bad that you started to eliminate every powerful Sharingan user who had the potential to awaken these eyes. Isn't that right, Kyuubi?" Naruto said, his voice dark. "Indra is twisting you to his wills, Naruto. Do not fall for his lies," Kurama said. As Naruto raised an eyebrow, "And aren't you twisted by Hagoromo's will? Even now, you obey his commands. You were not staying in that valley because you were keeping an eye on my people. You were waiting there for the next Mangekyou or even a powerful Sharingan user to be born, so that you could fulfill your mission once again. My people did not lose their dojutsu because of our mistake. It was also because you killed every strong warrior of every generation." "But I did not kill you or your brother, did I?" said Kurama. His shock was being replaced by his code that was given to him to fulfill by the sage. There was a reason why he had never befriended any Uchiha. He was fearing this moment happening, but here it was, everything was out in the open. As Naruto laughed, Kurama saw a shadow of Indra laughing at him with that familiar malice and hate. "No, you did something much worse." Kurama's eyes widened as he felt himself and Naruto being sucked away in a massive portal. But guys, if you ain't subscribed here, if you want to see the next person to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification as I posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Prodigy, and enjoy that guys over on Anime King 2. And also over on Anime King 3, I posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And remember, if you're new, yes, you heard that correctly, I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. But for now, I'm Motivator. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.